right, ladies and gents. Net zero. You'd expect me to talk about it since we run something called Future Net Zero. It is the core of what will happen, and whether you think it's unaffordable, as many people do, whether you think it's exactly the right thing to do, or whether you think it's something that is just passing through like various phases in the energy sector, I wouldn't say it is. I would say that this will be the fundamental shift. You have a government that is determined to push and lead. If you've seen what's happened with the COP and the declaration there, Starmer sees a place for the UK to be at the centre again of the climate change debate. So what does that leave for you, for your customers and for your clients? That's what we're going to discuss in this session now. And I'll start with Rachel. If you just introduce yourselves very quickly, what your company does and who you are. Your microphones are there, guys. Yes, on.
Hi, my name's Rachel Stark. I'm the Commercial Director of Two Blues Solar. And in a nutshell, what we do is we fund solar for commercial and industrial clients. So for people that are looking to put solar on their site and gain both from an energy savings perspective and a carbon perspective, but perhaps it never gets to the top of the to-do list because there's never the capital available to do it. We come in and we fund it, we pay for 100% of the installation, and we manage the process and then own the asset and sell them cheaper energy off the back of it. So what role is there for you guys? I guess you guys are a really important route to market for us, and a lot of our business leads comes through clients that you're talking to, obviously, and hoping to support on their net zero journey. And I think you're in a unique position because of the amount of data you have on that client, probably understanding their energy consumption profile sometimes better than they do, to be able to support them, along their net zero journey. And I think one of the things you can support them on as well is, I see many solar installers offering solar solutions to their clients, and they'll project incredible savings, paybacks of 2 years, something like that, and they'll be basing it on energy prices inflating at 7% per year, really, really crazy numbers. And I think you guys are in a position where you can really support your clients to verify and understand that kind of information that they're receiving.
Paul?
So, hi, I'm Paul Nain. I'm Chief Data Officer of Electrolink. Electrolink are a central body in the energy system that transfers all of the data that underpins settlement, switching, smart meter installs for all energy suppliers. My role is to take that data and make it available to as many parties as possible. So that's from Ofgem and DESNZ, who use that to monitor the smart meter program or use that to underpin renewable obligations, through National Grid that use it every day to better demand forecast what we're going to use as a country, all the way through to small price comparisons and TPIs that are looking to just help their customers understand what their path and what their energy usage is. Energy data is fundamental to what we do. We try and make that available and democratise that as much as possible, whether that's a single page report or whether that's access to an API that gives you 36 months worth of data for a small kebab shop or hairdressers, all the way up to Pilkington's glass.
So I'm Ben Tutt. I'm a Strategic Account Manager at Bright Energy. Bright Energy is a supplier of 100% renewable electricity to UK businesses. We're part of the Statkraft Group, who are Europe's largest generator of renewable power. And my main responsibility within Bright is working with our TPIs to come up with bespoke solutions for customers that go beyond just energy supply, so looking at things like energy transition technologies and power purchase agreements.
Hi, I'm Ellis Campbell. I'm a TPI Sales Manager at ENGIE. We're a global energy supplier focused on delivering sustainable and innovative renewable supply products to customers and partners alike.
Let's start with a very simple question for all of you before we talk about all of them. What does net zero mean for your organisations? We'll go backwards. Ellis, start with you. What does net zero mean for your organisation? How important is it to what you're going to deliver?
Yeah, so for us, we think net zero is, or the key opportunity of net zero is within the transition. We believe that the future is green, and that is where we're going to end up. And that at the moment, we're in that transition state where customers are moving through that journey. We believe the key opportunity for us and for yourselves is within that transition and capturing the kind of aims of those customers and helping them along that journey, suggesting where they might be able to maximise their,
And what are you doing for yourselves as an organisation? You've been committing to change yourselves and commit yourselves to net zero as an organisation yourself?
Yeah, so as an organisation ourselves, we've made a commitment to only sell 100% renewable power by 2030. That is quite a challenge. Obviously, the market isn't quite there yet. There are several barriers and customer buying behaviours that we believe are likely to change over the coming years. So, yeah, for us, that is a challenge. And what we're working on at the moment is trying to understand what solutions these customers need, where they are in that journey, and how we best support them along that.
Yeah, so from our side, at Bright internally, we've got our fully validated SBTI targets, which we got done last year. For anyone who's worked with customers who have validated SBTI targets, you'll know how difficult that is. We only sell 100% renewable power, and we only ever have. In terms of where we think the future's going, I mean, as you nicely mentioned, it's all about what products are needed for the changing environment. So we're seeing a huge change in generation. It's a lot less dispatchable. So how does balancing the grid fit in with customer prices and different contracts? But then what can customers do to support this? So a key area being sort of, and again, we spoke about batteries earlier, but looking at how, sorry, not batteries, solar installations, but how do batteries fit into that? How can they use what they have on site to really maximise their impact on the grid?
Paul, what are you doing at Electrolink about your own net zero
So
ambitions?
we're also already net zero accredited, and we do
Right.
that every single year. I think from our perspective, the things that we're already doing, so we support National Grid to help them understand what renewable energy is on the grid on a day-by-day basis. Prior to the data, when the sun shone and the wind blew, National Grid just thought everybody was using less energy. Now they understand how that works from a local position, and they can buy the right amount of energy in the right place. We're also supporting Ofgem and DESNZ in taking a look at the renewable obligation scheme and how those particular assets are paying out and what they're generating. For us, the net zero opportunity is just making more data available. So we've got smart DCC adapters that work with app providers who are helping individual consumers and businesses go on that net zero journey, whether it's installing solar panels, using a bit of energy or a bit less energy at the right time, or engaging with DFS schemes or other schemes that are available for flexibility to help just lower the amount of carbon on the grid.
And Rachel, Two Blues, what's your net zero credentials?
Well, I think our entire business is about getting solar on as many business sites as possible. And in truth, a lot of that is driven by customers' net zero goals. But I think we all have to be realistic and know that sustainability goals have to make commercial sense as well. And I think the nice thing about what we're offering, which is essentially a power purchase agreement for on-site solar, is that it can drive down carbon and cost savings.
And you're looking at your own, have you gone through the process of your own carbon footprint? And
absolutely. I mean, I would say we're a reasonably small and new business, so our carbon footprint is pretty tiny.
Which is good.
And the nice kind of part of our business is that we don't need to be massive, we don't need to be at massive scale to be able to deliver quickly. And
But that's the essence of it. If you're not doing it yourselves, how the hell can they do it and then prove it to their clients? Is there an issue, panel, that the word net zero is bandied a bit and has now become the new kind of greenwashing, where everyone's put it on. Quickly, again, straw poll, who has the words net zero on your website? As a service, as your goal? Okay. Sustainability? Should be nearly everyone. Okay, right. I don't think anyone would disagree that they're the right things to say, but we've seen what's happened all across what's going on right now globally, and you have got someone who frack, drill. But in essence, I don't think there's anyone who's sitting around thinking that the net zero goal is the wrong one. There's a lot of questions about the affordability and the strategies and policies we discussed earlier. How do you see net zero now for yourselves? And you've built you're new in the market, and it's exactly what you're trying to sell to. Do you think there is that appetite in the current climate, particularly on the pressures of business we discussed earlier?
to achieve net zero?
To commit to, for companies to think that's something I'm going to put ahead of Mike Roth. It's a tricky one, isn't it?
It is, and in truth, I think what we saw is that when energy prices went through the roof, the number
Zero
of
went
phone-
out, yeah, exactly, went out the back door.
Well, no, the opposite. People were phoning us. The phone kept ringing because people were thinking about solar very high on their agenda because it was a way of bringing their energy costs down. Now that energy costs have levelised, some of that pressure to act, I think, has abated, and sustainability goals have therefore kind of gone slightly down the agenda at the same time. So I think we have to be realistic about it. They are certainly on people's agenda, but it's a constant challenge to keep bringing them up the agenda.
Ben, from your point of view?
So what we tend to find, it does come and go, but going back to something we were saying about the right message, having the right message on your website. So we've always found that authenticity is key here. So it's really important to talk about what you're doing and the changes that you're making, as long as you're being authentic about it and saying what you're actually doing, not just kind of using buzzwords that sit over the top.
Yeah.
In terms of, our customers, we're looking at what the opportunities are out there to help them improve. So not just relying on government schemes, we've had triads, DFS, whatever it is, looking at how customers can actively engage with live pricing on the grid. What are their behaviours that they can then move to accommodate those sort of more dramatic price swings that we're going to see? We're living in a world where as generation changes, price fluctuation is going to change with it. Customers got two choices. They can either pay that risk away, and we've heard it sort of on some of the earlier panels, where that risk is just going to get more expensive, and it's not going to benefit any kind of movement forward. Whereas if customers are actively engaging with the grid, actively engaging with the TPIs, their suppliers, to be part of that change, there are financial opportunities that are there, alongside the ability to speed up our process through the net zero transition.
So Paul, who was coming there?
I think, is it still happening? Yes.
Yeah.
So we kind of move beyond just standard TPIs and energy circles. So we speak to a lot of green finance companies.
Yeah, you're across that.
A lot
Yeah,
of property
yeah.
tech companies. And the number one question is, how do we get these buildings to net zero? How do we make sure that the loans that we're underpinning and the private equity houses we're speaking to and the mortgage providers that we're speaking to are able to get access to these funds? Because ultimately, when the pension funds are investing in these businesses that are coming up, they need to be able to prove their green credentials. And I think when it starts at that level, when we're talking trillions of pounds, and trickles down into customers putting solar panels on roofs, it does actually matter. So we don't think this will slow down. We think it's going to accelerate across a lot more sectors.
Yeah, I think we'd echo those sentiments. I think we believe it's different for every customer. Every customer is in a different situation and has different pressures around their sustainability goals. For some customers, small, medium and large, it may be supply chain pressure. There's one supermarket, large brand supermarket, I believe 89% of their emissions come from their supply chain. They've committed to being net zero by 2035. In order to achieve that, they're going to have to put pressure on their supply chain to decarbonise as well and achieve those net zero goals. So if you're a customer who is, your main customer is into that supply chain, you're going to have to reduce your emissions and think about your net zero strategy in order to remain competitive in that market and to be able to access that customer base. We also believe that the pressures internally are going to be different across each and every customer. And for us, we think that's where the opportunity is. It's about understanding what pressures that customer is facing internally. Is it access to funding? Is it commitments you've made to shareholders and stakeholders within the business? Potentially, we think each customer is going to have different influences, and within the organisation there are going to be different stakeholders who place different levels of importance. For us as a supplier, typically the conversations we will have are with an energy buyer, and those conversations have historically been centred around budget and price. And when you're talking about renewable to a buyer, it represents a premium. It's an additional cost on top of your supply cost, which you may or may not be willing to undertake. We believe those conversations are shifting. There are now more stakeholders within the business who are interested in where are you sourcing your energy from, how are you becoming renewable. So it's not just necessarily purchasing a REGO for your supply contract. It may be thinking about having a direct agreement with a generator, purchasing in different ways. And those influences we believe are going to have a stronger voice moving forward, and that's going to change that buying behaviour of the customer and what it is they're looking to achieve.
We were in the city, I had a meeting just a couple of weeks ago, and it was very interesting, I think, the point you made. There isn't a lack of money. There's a lot of money there waiting. I think what there's been is confusion, hiatus, policy indifference that's there. And you know, globally that shift is there. Where do you see that money helping these people here? Helping them, whether it comes to solutions for funding, to put in a power purchase agreement, buy battery storage, install EV pumps and all of that, you know, the heat pumps and the EV infrastructure. Is there a way that you guys can help shift? Because that's what's going to happen. The money's there. You've got to take it, turn it into products and services that the TPIs can then offer to actually make the difference for the end user. Is there enough of that money coming in to allow you as organisations to start offering the tools for these TPIs? Who wants to start on that?
So from our perspective, banks and property and landlords are looking for data to help them understand what that transition looks like. Being able to prove that you can take a building with an energy efficiency rating of E, bring that down to B, is going to allow you to access money to invest in solar panels, investing, you know, new insulation. But what really is important is the data at the end of that journey that shows you've achieved that. Because if you haven't achieved that, that might be 1, 2, 3 percentage points difference on the loan that you have to acquire. So I think the money's there. Being able to prove those green credentials are going to help you access funds far quicker, and it's going to make assets more sustainable. So you're not dealing with a stranded asset problem in a couple of years as energy efficiency ratings start to creep up. So I think having the data to prove the journey that you're on and being able to get access to that funding to
make a case, you reckon?
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
That's exactly right.
So just to add on to that, from where we sit, it's about, that comes into the collaboration piece. So as a supplier, our expertise sit in how does your business interact with the wholesale market? And we've got the expertise in that space, but we don't understand what's actually happening at the end customer. So this is where TPIs are really important, because you guys really understand what's happening with that business. So if you have a more holistic strategy, you know, we're meeting with energy managers, whoever it is, but there's facility managers who could be having a project going on somewhere else. And if they're done in silo, one person could be doing a project and they're projecting savings in one space, and then someone else has put in a contract that means it goes completely against all of that plans, and suddenly the finance just doesn't make sense anymore. So as TPIs, by bringing those different people together, you can make sure that projects actually deliver the cost that they're meant to. We can then provide the contracts that allow you to do that with the data that you're driving. So it's about bringing all of these different areas together, and TPIs are just going to sit in that central space to be bringing those different companies into the conversation.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we are a source of funding, and we're very aware that there is more and more funding coming into the market.
Absolutely.
It's a more competitive space than it even was 2 years ago. So there is plenty of private funding out there available for your clients. And I think the most successful relationships we have with TPIs is when the TPI is taking a really, really proactive role in supporting their client through whatever net zero initiatives they're looking at, rather than just, you know, introducing them willy-nilly to random suppliers and then walking away. If you really hold their hands and play the part of a trusted advisor, then I think, you know, all parties can achieve a lot of success.
Yeah, we'd echo those sentiments. I believe as a supplier, you know, we sit as that in-between and that facilitator between wholesale market and customer. For yourselves, we believe the opportunity is for you to embed yourselves within customer strategies and become that long-term strategic partner, not just a service provider at point of contract or to provide access to a specific asset or whatever it might be. It's to actually align yourselves with that customer and drive and shape that journey for them.
Is there space for a net zero suite of services? Is that the future that says to the TPIs in the room, right, you've got a customer that's looking for battery storage. Here they are. Solar, here they are. Here's PPAs, here's funding for biogas unit. Here's how you're going to improve on your waste. Will you all have to adapt what you're providing to offer, in a way, a toolkit to net zero. I mean, it sounds trash, but, that's the only way I can think of it, because from all the stories we do, there are various different pools for the end customers of all these people that want different things, right? So that's on you, isn't it, to provide them the tools to supply that need. Anyone on that?
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, that is key for us to make sure we're delivering the right solutions for you and for your customers. To Ben's point earlier, you have the relationships with the customer, you're closer to them, you understand what their needs are, what their drivers are. We can facilitate, obviously, solution providing for that, but we believe for yourselves, the opportunity is to embed yourselves, as I say, holistically in that strategy. There are many.
So are you expecting them to say, right, Ellis, this is what my clients need, rather than you go, here's a suite of things, off we go?
I believe it's a two-way dialogue.
Or a bit of both.
I think it's around creating that partnership.
Yep.
So I believe it's for us to be able to facilitate the needs of your customers, but I think it's for yourselves to understand and to delve into what those needs are and grow those relationships with the customers. Maybe a small anecdote here just around, the many ways to kind of achieve net zero. Every year we hold an event as a supplier where we get a team together and kind of coordinate strategy for the year and kind of brief teams. Held it in a hotel. Within the lobby of the hotel, there was a big post that said, net zero ambitions and their sustainability strategy, laid it all out. No mention there of energy supply whatsoever. As you can imagine, our CEO was particularly upset and, it was on to us around, somebody please go and speak to, facilities manager, buyer, whoever it needs to be, around what they're doing about renewable. But I think it just evidenced for us the many, many ways that customers can achieve that net zero ambitions. And we as a supplier, we can't necessarily facilitate that. Yourselves hold that special place in the market with those customers where you can provide those alternative solutions. And however they want to achieve net zero, then you guys have that suite of options and that tool set. Maybe from many different providers, maybe it is from one single provider. We don't know what that looks like, but we're here to try facilitate.
I think just the challenge with if you are going out to the market with here's everything that we can do.
I was going to say,
there are so many different solutions, options, technologies. You just have a complete brain freeze. You're not going to be able to look at everything. And if you're not properly informed, you could be looking at something completely wrong for your business. So we've got a responsibility to educate, absolutely. But the key area where TPIs would come into that conversation is understanding not what the business has come forward and said they want, but what do they actually look to achieve? What's their end goal? Where are they starting from? What's their capabilities? Rather than just a customer who said, right, we've seen what a PPA is and we think this is a great idea. So if you can find us a generator, we'll sort it out. The complexities around that are so huge that the customer's just going to waste 3 years and not really achieve anything for some businesses. Whereas if you go in and say, okay, that's an option, PPA could be good, it could be right for your company, but let's have a look at your own operations. What can you do? Have you got all the data together? Have you got LED lights? Have you done all your efficiencies internally? Understand what they're looking to do. Bring that back to the suppliers to say, right, here's what the customer does. You tell me, what can you do? Go for it. And then you're collaborating on that solution, working together, and then you'll have the customer on the right journey for them.
Anyone else?
I'm slightly controversial with two suppliers sitting next to me.
Ooh,
Go for it.
I'm not certain that the supplier hub model is still going to exist in 10 years' time.
Right.
Okay, so businesses and households are likely to have more than one supplier because you might have someone
different
supplying
things,
your
yeah.
home energy, someone else controlling your EV, someone else controlling your battery, playing into multiple different flexibility markets.
Yeah.
That already exists today, and anyone on the DFS scheme may have come into some trouble last year. Your supplier's registered you, and then your flexibility provider was registered you. Those conflicts have become more and more important as we go forward. So I think the opportunity is for the TPIs to become that trusted advisor. It might be that you go to a ONG that has a full suite of solutions. It might be that you're picking something from a smaller supplier that has the right price and something from Tesla that can be able to do something in a different market.
Yeah.
So I think the TPI needs to probably develop skills that has different offerings for different customers that isn't reliant on either a supplier, an energy contract, or just one all-in service. And that's going to be quite difficult over the next 10 years. The best way to start that journey is to start to understand the customer themselves, get access to that data that's agnostic to any one individual party and build that relationship and then work out where you go from there.
Yeah. Do you want to add?
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's very difficult for any one party to be all things in the sustainability world, because there are so many complex solutions out there, and actually you need to become quite an expert, and the ability to become an expert in all of them is quite difficult, I think. So I think for TPIs it's really about choosing who you partner with very carefully and building up those really trusted partnerships where you can work together, make sure your partners have a good understanding of your clients, and they can then offer the absolute best services. But that partnership approach, I think, is absolutely key. And again, where we've seen most success is where we've worked really, really closely with TPIs.
Is there a knowledge transfer that needs to... Actually, let me ask the audience. How many of you offering net zero type services? Did you say? Right. And are you doing that yourselves, or are you having those conversations? Who's doing this because they've got their own team that knows what they're doing? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And how many of you are now turning to your suppliers to say, help me? Oh dear. Bit of work to do. Where's the main opportunity, do you think, for TPIs? Is it, you've all talked about knowing the customer, is it knowledge gap providers, that they go in a way and research their client, understand their client, to then come back to you guys and say, is that it? Do they feel that that's the big opportunity to plug the knowledge gap?
I think it's plugging the knowledge gap, certainly, and we've used the word trust over and over again, but I do think that side of things is really important, because if you are a client going out on your sustainability journey, you're faced with this myriad of suppliers, solar installers, I don't know, you don't know who to
battery,
trust.
Absolutely.
There are so many out there, and I see clients all the time that they get quotes, 10 quotes, and they're all completely different. They have no idea how to compare them. They have no idea whether the information there is genuine or not. And I think that's the role that you can help really corroborate, verify where there are real businesses that they can work with and partner with, and corroborate and help inform them on some of the data and the information that they're getting back from suppliers.
Yeah. Anyone else on that quick point?
The other thing I was going to say is having that holistic understanding of the customer.
Which is their responsibility.
That's it, yeah. So, as you say, you'll have different companies approaching businesses all the time.
Yeah.
If they can filter all of that through you, and that's not just the energy manager, that's the facilities, finance, the net zero
fleet,
team,
whatever,
whoever it is, fleet, everything. You want to get every decision maker in the room early doors so that everyone isn't going off and doing their own projects and wasting their time. Bring them together, point them all in the same direction, and then help them go for it.